Okay, so got the parts laid out for the front clip here to start that project. I got to weld up all these smaller pieces and tie them into the front rails. I have not cleaned those yet, but let me show you what I did up front here before I got started. I had one more set of supports I had to make up for my jig here. And what that did was made sure that the clip was perfectly centered with the rest of the chassis. And you can see I've just slipped that in there. It's just literally sitting there, no clamps, no nothing, just it's perfect. So I got to pull that out, clean that as well, get all of this, all these parts ready for fab, and I'll start working through the front clip. So that's today's adventure. So this will take a little time. I expect this is there's a lot of welding on this clip. So anyway, I'm gonna get after it and we'll see where we get. If anybody knows a better way to clean surface rust and mill scale off from steel, put it in the comments. That's pretty easy. What is that, 3 or 4 minutes? Not bad. Okay, so these are how the heavy pieces on the top assemble. Shock mounts just slide in, they're keyed, everything locks into the right position. But the first thing you do is pull this apart and weld these two pieces together, keeping them very square. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'll show you how I go about that. It's just very simple. I use my magnets, hold it square, tack it on both sides, weld it slowly, and then bring it in. Then you weld that piece back into the rail, this combined piece into the rail, and then you add these. There's a lot of welding. This is what it looks like when it's all done. I finished this side up, and I gotta clean some of that up. I was having some heat issues. It's tough when you're going from thick material to thin material, and I was struggling and mostly just forgetting to turn the heat back down. So, but it'll clean right up. Other than that, she's pretty good. Now there was this little tab that goes down here. I was a little confused at first as to where that went, but that just doubles up or makes that material extra thick right there, and that ties into the bottom of the K-member. All right, so let's try this and see what we get. Okay, got this clamped up. Put my square block in there. This side drawn in. And I'm just gonna weld this slowly and bring it in. Okay, there's that welded up. You can see the heat affected zone. This is a heavy piece of metal. You gotta really put the heat to it to get that to flow right. But anyway, that's good. I'm gonna slip it onto the piece. As soon as it cools off a little bit, I'll show you what that looks like. All right, that's a good tight fit. You can see everything clamps up nice. Gaps look good. Now I'm gonna kind of weld this in a little bit. I'm gonna start back here so it can't come out of square on me. And then flip to the other side, weld the bottom across between this and this plate. And then I'll flip it back over and weld what I can here on the top. And then I'll be ready for the shock mounts. Okay, there we go. So that's welded in and all the way on the bottom. So now we got to work in these guys. Now, you know, after heat gets to it and whatnot, I gotta tap that in with a hammer. I'll probably taper that end a little bit and just kind of tap it in there. And looks a little low too, so I might have to grind this a little, just make it sit flat and where it's supposed to be. All right. Yeah, I had to give that a little tap, but she sunk right in good. Now, this edge in here, I struggle to TIG weld, so I'm probably gonna throw a MIG bead in there once I'm done. But the rest of this, I'll weld right up completely before I put the next one in. Okay, there's what it looks like all welded up. I welded in the two small plates here and there. Okay, looking good. Better clean up some of that because K-member goes up against that face. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is the bottom work on this, and I'll bring you back and show you what that's like. All right, so the last step on these rails is you're going to take these little pieces, little filler pieces. There's a couple of wedge-shaped pieces, and they all lock in really nice, so you pretty much know exactly where they got to go. And then an end filler, and I'm just going to tack those together so that I can put all this in the system. I'm going to tack that so that when I apply the backside and put them in the tabs, I got a little bit of wiggle room. So let's see here. Helps if you have the tungsten actually in the stinger. Good way to start. Okay. I'm just going to put a couple little fusion tacks on that. Just one down here so I can pivot it if I need to. Always forget to do that. There we go. The first time you hit the pedal in the morning, the argon's not quite up to the tip. Okay. That will hold those in place. Now I should be able to flip this over without anything falling out. Yep, I lied. No, that's okay. All right, now I can engage that tab and these two. Okay, now should be able to release that. All right, now we'll give it a couple of welds at the end so it doesn't spring on me, and we'll start welding it up. Okay, I'm gonna weld this up and I'll bring you back. All right, so that's that. That's the bottom plate all welded on, ready to go. Now we gotta start working out the little kickers that come out this way. They're right here on this diagram. Then he makes some really nice little jigs to hold this all together for you. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up those two kickers, get those ready to weld, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so the next step is we need to kind of jig this up with the jig parts provided by Nerd Rod. So this, I don't know what I'm calling it, a kicker, slides and locks in like so, and it's very precise. Then he gives you these jigs. One's labeled top, the other labeled bottom, and they bolt on like this and hold everything in place. Then you're supposed to be able to weld these right up. Now I am going to go take and, after I get this bolted up, come on, well, I'm going to go and take this, slip this assembly onto the frame just to make sure that my two frame rails line up nicely right here and I don't have any weirdness going on. So, there we go. Okay, so there's the top bit. We'll slip the bottom one on the same way. And thread the nuts on. Okay, and here. Okay. That provides a nice rigid assembly, it really does. The last nut over here. Come on now. All right, I'll tighten those up a little more later once I know it fits the frame well. So let's take it over and try it on the frame now. All right, so I've slipped that right on there. It's amazing how well that fits. I got a little bit of a spread right here when I clamp the front, but I'm not concerned about it. It's super tight. Everything looks really good. So I'm gonna fit on the other side, and probably while I have it up here, I will tack this piece heavily so it can't move. Then take it back off, weld it up. Probably put the two braces across the two pieces right on in this position for when I get it in place. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. But I figure, you know, this spread is perfect right here. So tack this in place right here. Then I don't have to worry about it moving on me. Get it, like I said, a heavy tack. Then I can take it over to the bench, weld it right up nice, then bring it back over and put the whole clip on. So yeah, let me fit up the other side now. All right, so gonna weld this up. You can see I put a fairly heavy tack on this end. I really gotta be careful not to allow this to close up. This brace should hold it, but is what it is. So I'm probably going to MIG weld down through this crease right here just because that's really difficult to TIG, and I'm going to struggle with that because I just do. So I'll MIG weld that seam, and yeah, we'll move on from there. Then I've got to grind the edges here, get some bevel in them so that we can have some room to put the bead and get good penetration. So I've already got the first one clamped up there. This did collapse on me just a little bit because I had taken these off to do the MIG welding. I won't do that again. And we'll see if this works better. But anyway, that's where I'm at, and I'll show you what I'm into when I get through it. So my uncle's dropped that gem off this week. That's gonna be the donor vehicle for the 5.3 liter LS. Notice they couldn't help but hit my tree. Jeez, kids these days. Anyway, I don't know, maybe they're getting a little up there. But anyway, this thing is ready to make a good donor vehicle. It's got a decent motor in it. Supposedly, I'm going to get it all running and stuff before I pull it out, obviously. But should be good to go. All right, so this is all clamped in. I just threw this brace up here real quick just to see what it looked like. The holes on that side don't quite line up. But it's, you know, I don't see where the constraint is because I'm tight on that jig right there. If I got any further apart, I would not be. So everything else looks perfect. My gap up front looks really nice. Let's see if you can see that. Gap in the back looks good. I got a little more gap over here than I'd like to see, but I'll try to draw that in a little more as I start to weld it. And same thing on the other side. Yeah, everything looks about ready here. So I think I am going to start welding in that side first, then, you know, get some good solid clamping on it. I don't think I'm going to weld the front just yet, just in case I have to tweak the front clip or something. But it's uniformly too close together by maybe 1/8 of an inch. Don't think that's a huge deal. But I also measured my Corvette K-member, and I have about a 1/4 inch wider opening here than I do in K-member. So I'm assuming I have to draw that out a little bit. But all this come out good. I'm going to start just slowly tigging that together gently, getting everything where I want it. I'm going to work my way around as much as I can weld from the top, get both sides in that state, and then I'll probably roll this thing up on its sides and could even flip it to get the rest of the welds. So anyway, my jig is working out fantastic. I'm very happy with that. I could build one of these so much faster the next time with this setup, but we'll see. We'll see what the next project is. But this jig is kind of designed so I could make it adapt it for any frame design. So that's kind of where I'm headed with it. But so far so good. I like the package. I enjoy dealing with the company. Again, this is a non-sponsored project by any means, so sponsored by moi. So, gonna start working this out, getting this thing put in, centered up. Everything seems to be lined right up nicely. I'll probably do a couple cross measurements up front here, maybe from these mounting points back or from this point back or something, just to make sure my jig is square, you know, because if that wasn't square, I could be in trouble. But if it's not, all I have to do is pull off these brackets right here and alter them to make it square. So that was kind of the strategy. So yeah, now's a good time to do that. If it could go that way in the front a little bit, it might make some of these joints a little better, but it's a very small amount of it all. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna first confirm my dimensions, check my cross, double check the cross back here, and just double check everything's square before I finalize this. All right, so got the front clip welded in. I've rolled it up on its side so I can hit a few of these vertical welds so I can get them nice, especially these butt joints like right here. So yeah, I'm gonna finish welding this up and that'll be about it for the front clip. I am going to bolt in the Corvette cross member, the K member, just to have that checked out before I go too much further. But yeah, so far it's looking decent. So we will see. Okay, so bit of a boner here. I went to grab the K-member and realized you have to bring the K-member up from the bottom. So that's not gonna come up through there with the jig. So, that's all right. And I'm not ready to take this frame off the jig yet, just because it is what it is. But I've got all the verticals done. Next, the only thing welding left on this portion of the frame is I gotta flip it completely upside down. I'm not ready to quite do that yet. The next thing that's gotta go on is the trailing arm mounts, which mount here. So, I will start to get those things. I've had them in the tumbler for a couple days. I've got to clean this shop. This shit's out of control. So I'm going to take the rest of the afternoon today and hoe this disaster and get it cleaned up. I've been so busy. Anyway, no excuses. Get it cleaned up. I've got a friend's 57 Chevy out in the yard. I got to get in here tomorrow, have a look. Got to get the Firebird in here tomorrow, have a look at that. I think I screwed up and left the piece of masking tape on the on the vent for the transmission, because when it gets hot, it pushes a little fluid out the rear seal. So I've got to, see if I can get a scope up in there and see if that's the case, or if I pinch that line off somewhere or something, but it acts like there's no vent on it. Anyway, I'll fix that. That's easy enough. Hopefully I don't have to drop the transmission to do it, but be stupid, you better be tough. All right, so I'm gonna keep cleaning, wrap this video up here. Hope you're enjoying this. I am. It's a lot of welding, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. I think this is gonna be an awesome chassis for that pickup. Should be lots of fun. So, once I get that done, I have to get the trailing iron mounts. There's a rear bumper mount that has to go on here. Then I have to deal with, I think then I flip it over, weld the bottom sides. Then I'll take it off the jig and go through the rest of it. And then I've got to go back through and clean up all these welds, wire brush everything, get all the flux off it, the argon debris. So yeah, but I'm pretty stoked with the way this is going. So anyway, that's it for today and probably the weekend. So I will circle back and show you what I'm into next. If I get a chance tomorrow afternoon to start those trailing arm mounts, I'll do that and just start a separate video on that, because they're interesting how they go together. But so far, it's looking good.